They have saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths at the very least that are gonna, if not be implemented right away, but soon. They also are gonna have insects, reptiles, all kinds of stuff. They're not, and some of them are gonna be animals that are alive today. Now, I did read somewhere that they said they wanted to represent every single species that they could, so that's pretty awesome. Now, the Ark itself, and the Ark is actually the world, that's not going to be randomly generated. Everybody's going to start off on the same world. You might be in a different server, but you'll be on the same design world. Now, environments and how much things spawn and that kind of stuff are going to change per world using different statistical whatevers. But the worlds themselves are going to be the same. The rationalization for doing that is because they want to put as much detail into the world itself, and that's kind of why they also said that they might release new worlds at different price points, and eventually they do want to get a world generator involved that will randomly generate worlds, but that's just not going to be right away. Okay, so this is kind of cool. So one of the problems that I have had personally with these kind of survival games, especially if you play on a public server, is when you're gone, you can potentially be completely defenseless and people can just come into your house or your town or whatever and just steal all your stuff. They have said that when you go offline, you can actually set it up. So like say you tame a velociraptor, right? If someone breaks into your like castle or house or town or whatever you decide you want to build, your velociraptor will actually, you can set your velociraptor so it attacks that person and defend it. Now eventually you could also probably tame like a T-Rex, for instance. Imagine trying to break into someone's town and your head gets chopped off by a T-Rex. That'd be pretty awesome. They also said that as you get into the sci-fi range, you'll eventually be able to build things like turrets and guns and that kind of stuff too. So that'll be available. And if you have seen the trailer for the game, there are a couple scenes where someone is actually using like a rifle and he's shooting velociraptors or whatever. So there will be different ways to defend your base even if you're not there. Building's going to be pretty basic. It's almost like Minecraft style. You start with a square and you build a square on a square on a square. But they said the squares are going to be pretty small, so you're still going to have room to customize shapes. And as the game gets older, they're going to work and refine that some more. But just to start off with, it's going to be pretty basic. Again, what can you expect? This game hasn't been in development for a very long time. I think since like December. So just the fact that they're as far as they are is pretty impressive, and the fact that they're committing to improve it is also really cool. Okay, so this is kind of cool. So in the world, as you're exploring around, you can actually see different dinosaur to dinosaur interactions. For instance, you could walk into a clearing from a forest and you could actually potentially see a T-Rex and like a Triceratops fighting each other. Or, I don't know, you could see like a Velociraptor, sneaking up on some other animal. Now, they have said that generally dinosaurs are only going to harass or hunt other dinosaurs in a similar weight class, I guess is the best way to describe it. But if there's nothing else, like a T-Rex isn't going to attack some tiny little dinosaur, but if there's nothing else, he will. It also states that, how healthy one of the dinosaurs is, or whatever animal is, will determine whether it fights back or it runs away. And sometimes if there's a group of one dinosaur all in one area, the other dinosaurs will actually come and help defend the one being attacked. So there's some really cool social aspects to the way that the dinosaurs interact with each other. Very similar to what you would see on Discovery Channel or History Channel, where they actually talk about that kind of stuff during some of the shows. You can go on Netflix and there's tons of dinosaur stuff, and you can actually see the relation there. To start out with, there's not going to be breeding of dinosaurs, but there is going to be mating. So for instance, if you were to catch a male and a female Stegosaurus, the two would mate with each other. They wouldn't lay an egg and you wouldn't get a baby Stegosaurus, but those two would mate with each other, and they both actually get a boost in their strength or their endurance or something. So that's kind of cool. You can actually invest and create relationships that affect your dinosaurs, and then you can also train them up and make them stronger. And there's different ways of kind of knowing how strong they are. They said that their skins and their colors will vary based off of their levels and their genders. So it's definitely something to look out for while you're looking for dinosaurs to tame and also if you're trying to create like relationships between them, there's a way for you to look at that and understand it. Again, you're probably not going to know that stuff by default if you get the game right away, but I'm sure all that information will eventually be made available. Okay, so for the crafting system, they don't release a whole lot of information about how that works. Now, based off what they've said, they said they're going to be engrams for certain items, so I'm guessing an engram is essentially a recipe. If you get all the supplied parts and you click on the engram, you build the item. I like that more than a lot of other games, for instance, and Stranded Deep's really the only one I know very well. Every time you want to build something, you throw those items on the ground and then you like right-click it and it gives you a list of things to build. This one you actually have to research things. So I'm assuming the way it works is you're going to take different items and you're going to mix them together and you will randomly find, the recipe to build something, and after you build it the first time, you get an engram for it that makes it easier for you to build it later on, and probably also tells you everything you need to build it. I'm seeing this as kind of like the way the Minecraft system works, although once you figure it out, you don't have to look it up on Wikipedia again. It should always be there. Now, what's also kind of cool about that is when you die, from what I understand, you do lose your world, but you don't lose your research. So you get to keep all your engrams, so you don't have to randomly try to put stuff together over and over and over again. Once you learn it across, I believe, all your worlds, and not all your accounts, but under that one name. Somebody here asked cannibalism with a question mark, and the answer is yes. Not a whole lot of information about that, but we'll see. It sounds kind of creepy, but who knows. Now, apparently you can enslave people, you can hold them hostage, you can torture them, you can throw them into a volcano if you want to, and that's other players. So there's definitely going to be a pretty huge PvP aspect of the game involved. But at the same time, you can play single-player worlds as well, which will make it primarily PvE. Or you can even host your private servers. This is something that I'll get into in just a second, where you could just play with your friends. But so for private servers, I watched somebody else's video about this, and they said that the private servers are going to be paid. So that kind of makes me nervous, and I feel like based off the fact that they don't want to do any kind of in-game transaction type deal seems a little off. Now again, this is my personal opinion, and they might have some resource that they use that really did a good job of answering that question and proving it. I haven't seen it, so they might be right. But what I can see them doing is having the option to have paid servers, and then also the option for hosting your own. A paid server would be a server that you and your friends play on, that is always up all the time. You pay $5-6 a month to keep it running, and then you'd have your own hosted servers that are free, but they're only up while you are hosting them. So you can turn them off, you can shut them down. If you turn off your computer, the server goes offline. I would hope that's the way they do it. It gives you an option both ways, and it doesn't force you to pay something extra just to play with your friends and not have to worry about some random guy killing you. Okay, so for hackers, people who tend to ruin servers and games for everyone else, they're actually going to have two different walls to prevent that. They're going to be using Steam's own anti-hacking thing, what is it, Punkbuster or whatever they call it, but they're also going to use their own, so there should be two walls. Hackers obviously are always going to get in. I mean, generally the hacker is one step above the people who are trying to stop them, but at least it shouldn't be as common. It's going to be a lot harder for them, so that's good. Something to be encouraged by, and again, if you host your own private server, you won't have to worry about that. Now, the game is also completely open to modifications, which that is totally different. That is actually altering gameplay, and it's something that is optional for anyone that wants to download it. Very cool. They're totally open towards people altering the game and changing it and editing it and making it more what they want it to be. You don't see that a whole lot with games. I mean, Skyrim does it, Call of Duty World at War does it, and I'm sure they're like Just Cause does it. So games do allow for that. But with the amount of freedom that you already have on this, it sounds like they're going to take it a step further, which is pretty cool. Now here's something pretty cool. So this is essentially an indie developer, but they're not indie developers, if that makes sense. The team that they've put together, they're kind of a little bit of various teams across the gaming industry. The people that are developing in this game have also been involved with teams from like the Uncharted series and Primal Carnage and a couple other games. So we've got some very, very experienced developers here as well, which is really cool. It also gives you a little more security as far as the early access too, because these are people who are not used to developing tiny little games and never completing them. These are people who have been involved in huge blockbuster games and have the experience, the knowledge, and I would think the drive to actually create a really good, complete, solid game. Okay guys, so that's all I have for you. That's all the information that was right here. I personally, I'm going to be doing a YouTube series myself on this game. I've never played a survival game before, so if you're interested in that and you want to watch it and you're kind of on the fence about the game, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there, or down there. I'm not good at that yet. And check it out. Again, the game comes out on June 2nd. Hopefully I will have my first video up either June 3rd or June 4th, maybe even later on that same day. I'm going to start out with a single player series, and if I can get some of my friends in the server together and post my own, we might have some multiplayer stuff going on too. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this answered some of your questions. There was some information on here that I did not cover. A lot of questions with like engines and, you know, recommended graphic settings. I gave you minimum and that kind of stuff, where if you want to go there, I will provide a link to this page in the description so you can go there and read it. But pretty much all of the prevalent information as far as what gameplay is going to be like and what you can expect from the game itself, at least at launch, I think I did a pretty good job of covering it. So again, if you enjoyed these videos, please drop a like. I try to be as informative as I could, and hopefully I will see you guys in a couple weeks with some awesome gameplay. Have a great one, guys.